While Lu Fan had been running the dungeon for a day, the outside world had turned into chaos. The God Destroyer Legion had destroyed the two-way transport array set up between the dungeon instance entrance and Dragon Capital University. This naturally caused the transport array at Dragon Capital University to stop working, attracting the attention of the university staff. After inspection confirmed that the transport array on the other end had been destroyed, the teachers reported to Zhao Shengming, who was currently managing everything in Dragon Capital University. After checking, Zhao Shengming felt something was wrong and immediately contacted the Dragon Country Defense Bureau to check up on the situation at the area around the Death Desert Ocean dungeon instance. As a result, the Defense Bureau discovered the guard team at the Death Desert Ocean dungeon instance was uncontactable. Even crushing the signal stone got no response from them. Thus, the Defense Bureau and Dragon Capital University immediately sensed something was extremely wrong. They contacted the relevant departments in Extremist country, asking them to investigate. After all, Extremist country usually stationed guards near the Death Desert Ocean dungeon instance, too. At the same time, although Extremist country had been quite thorough, killing the Dragon Country guards and preventing news from leaking, they knew that no matter how careful they were, Dragon Country would definitely be alerted when a guard team and so many university teachers died. They had prepared their explanation early on. When Dragon Country raised questions, Extremist country maintained complete innocence, saying they had sent people to check on the situation and would quickly respond to Dragon Country if something came up. After some delays, they reported that after their guards went to the area outside the entrance of Death Desert Ocean, they found the Dragon Country guard team had been completely wiped out, supposedly attacked by heretics. The specific situation was still under investigation. Extremist country had also dispatched additional personnel to search for survivors and perpetrators near the Divine Bone Forest, saying they would definitely help Dragon Country catch the heretics responsible and give Dragon Country an explanation. When Dragon Country received this news, everyone was in uproar. This was outrageous! Their people had been killed by heretics in Extremist country's territory, while their representative, Lu Fan, had led his team to run the dungeon instance with their safety unknown. The Defense Bureau immediately asked Extremist country to build a transport array near the Death Desert Ocean, wanting to send people to check up on the current situation. Extremist country agreed on the surface, but when asked when the transport array could be built, they kept hemming and hawing, constantly using excuses to stall for time like the Death Desert Ocean is deep within the wilderness. Transport array materials are difficult to transport, so we can't determine when the transport array can be completed. The Death Desert Ocean dungeon instance was located within Extremist country's territory. Although it had been allocated to Dragon Country, once the transport array was cut off, the area around this dungeon instance became no different from an isolated island. It made it extremely difficult to reach that place, especially when they needed to go through Extremist country. So, even though Dragon Country was extremely anxious, Extremist country could keep stalling, and there was nothing anyone could do about it. Naturally, Dragon Country had dispatched forces toward the Death Desert Ocean dungeon instance, hoping to reach the site of the incident as quickly as possible. However, due to the distance, it would still take a considerable amount of time. Right now, with the situation around the Death Desert Ocean dungeon instance being unclear, by the time Dragon Country's people arrived, it was hard to say what the situation would be like. The initiative in this matter was clearly in Extremist country's hands. At this time, in Extremist country's capital, overseeing Heaven City, in the Jin family meeting room, Jin Xy, who had been made fully in charge of this matter, leaned back in his comfortable office chair. He watched report after report come in with a satisfied smile on his face. Compared to Dragon Country, who was almost completely in the dark about the area around the Death Desert Ocean, Jin Xy who had already made massive preparations. They knew everything about the place like the back of his hand. Days ago, when Dragon Country was still building their transport array, the God Slayer Legion and God Destroyer Legion had already set up 24 military camps around the Death Desert Ocean. They even had their communications facilities completed before the operation began. The two ace military units were all assembled and spread across the 24 camps, completely surrounding the Death Desert Ocean. With this iron blockade formed by the two legions, plus no transport array to and from Dragon Country, Lu Fan was completely isolated without support. Within the encirclement, the 5 national guardians of Extremist country would be waiting, and they had been waiting for a long time. Once Lu Fan came out of the dungeon, he would have absolutely no chance of escape. It was only with Lu Fan's death that Jin Xy's life could be spared. However, Jin Xy was now completely at ease. After all, it was now his older brother's turn to end it. In his mind, how could his older brother possibly fail? Just as Jin Xy was rejoicing, a subordinate quickly pushed open the door and entered with a tense expression. "Lord Jin, there's more news from Dragon Country!" The person knelt on one knee and reported as soon as he entered. "What news could make you so flustered?" Jin Xy leisurely asked, not even bothering to open his eyes. The subordinate broke out in cold sweat and said, "2 more letters just arrived from Dragon Country. This time, they're from Han Fai Bai and the Northern Marquis? Lord Tu Jing." "What?" Jin Xy nearly fell from his seat, all his previous composure gone. "Those 2 have spoken up. What did their letters say?" The subordinate reported. "The content of both letters is similar. They're criticizing our extremist country for being ineffective, as we have not provided Dragon Country with specific information about the situation at Death Desert Ocean for far too long. They state they're unable to wait any longer. So, they will be sending high-level players to cross over the border directly into Extremist country. They hope that if any conflict arises, Extremist country will be understanding." "They are going to directly cross the border?" "Dragon Country sure is bold." Jin Xy was furious upon hearing this. He slammed his fist onto the table. Elder Han and Tu Jing's talk of being understanding was merely sweetened words, barely courtesy. The real meaning of the message was, "If you dare to stop us, we'll kill everyone, and don't say we didn't warn you!" Though Jin Xy was livid, he was also at a loss for words. After all, he could not afford to offend either Tu Jing or Elder Han. Tu Jing commanded the Griffin Legion, while Elder Han had numerous mighty players under him, with the 4 ultimate swordsmen being world-class players comparable to the 5 national guardians. If their men really crossed the border, should Extremist country even try to stop them? If they tried, who would do it? The God Slayer Legion and God Destroyer Legion were all currently surrounding Death Desert Ocean. Sending other military units would just be sending them to their deaths. If they did not stop them, and the other side reached Death Desert Ocean and discovered that it was not the heretics that had killed those of Dragon Country, but rather Extremist country trying to ambush their national hero Lu Fan, then the grudge between Dragon Country and Extremist country would be irreparable. In fact, at that point, Dragon Country might directly declare war. Extremist country naturally dare not to go to war with Dragon Country. If Dragon Country did not have sufficient reason for war, Extremist country could still draw in neutral forces to their side. However, if Dragon Country had a just cause and Extremist country deserved to be attacked, which neutral force would stand on Extremist country's side? With Tu Jing and Elder Han both getting involved, Jin Xy was sweating profusely. He remained silent for a full 5 minutes before gravely saying, "Send out the God Annihilator Legion, under the pretext of securing the border, toward our border with Dragon Country. If they encounter people from Dragon Country trying to force their way through, try to hold them back as much as possible. Delay them." "Yes!" The subordinate accepted the order and hurried off to make arrangements. After the subordinate left, Jin Xy wiped the sweat from his brow and looked toward the Death Desert Ocean, hoping. Our domestic transport arrays have already been closed off under the pretext of purging the heretics. So, reinforcements from Dragon Country can only force their way in from the border. Even from the nearest transport array, crossing Extremist country's border will still take some time. Within that time, my brother should be able to kill Lu Fan and make it look like the work of the heretics. That way, Dragon Country can only swallow this bitter pill. But, with Han Bai and Tu Jing being the ones who are sending out reinforcements, this matter is dire. I should still warn him about this. Muttering to himself, Jin Xy called over a subordinate and had them send a message to the God Slayer and God Destroyer legions, telling the two legions to watch out for Dragon Country's reinforcements. They also needed to inform the 5 National Guardians present about this grave matter. The murder must be done without delay! One at the entrance of the Death Desert Ocean Dungeon instance. After several flashes of white light, Lu Fan's group walked out chatting and laughing. Although it was just dawn with the sun rising, everyone was tired after running the dungeon instance for a whole day. They were planning to eat something before sleeping in their tents. However, as soon as they exited the dungeon instance, Lu Fan immediately sensed something was wrong. Battle instincts made Lu Fan immediately summon Xiao Kui to give everyone buffs. By now, Jian Ying and the others also noticed something was wrong. The dungeon instance entrance was in complete disarray, with the smell of blood permeating the air. Looking ahead, there were gruesomely killed corpses arranged in an eerie pattern. Han Ke let out a startled scream, her face instantly turning pale. Jian Ying's brows furrowed as she drew out 5 swords simultaneously, protecting everyone behind her. What happened? Qin Chu's complexion was not much better than Han Ke's. She never imagined they would see such a gory sight upon exiting the dungeon instance. Jian Ying looked at the corpses, noting their horrific state and strange arrangement. She hypothesized. Could heretics have attacked this place? It looks like the Dragon Country guards and our teachers and teaching assistants are all dead. What? All dead? The others' expressions became even worse, filled with grief and anger. As for Lu Fan, he had never been this furious before. Looking at the corpses, he coldly declared, this wasn't done by heretics. Heretics are people who avoid exposure, since they still like to live in populated areas. Else, how could they gather more followers and have contact with ordinary people? This can't be their doing. It just doesn't make sense why they would appear here of all places. After all, this is deep within the wilderness. Although slightly more developed compared to other areas of the wilderness, there are no ordinary people here for them to convert. There are only players, and there are even guards around. This is not somewhere heretics would want to appear in, much less expose their existence in. After Lu Fan finished speaking, his eyes narrowed, because after saying those words, he suddenly understood who might be responsible for the deaths of these people. Sure enough, as soon as Lu Fan's voice fell, a cold laugh came from not far away. As expected of Dragon Country's hero. You sure are clever, too clever. But unfortunately, that won't save you today. Lu Fan looked toward the source of the voice and saw someone riding what looked like a mechanical bird-like creature flying out from within the divine bone forest. This person looked rather unkempt, constantly drinking from a wine gourd. On his back was a longsword, which was clearly no ordinary item. However, Lu Fan did not recognize who this person was. The drunkard's face was red from all the drinking, and he quickly flew above Lu Fan's group on his mechanical mount, looking down at them with an upturned smile. Boss Jin is really interesting, even calling upon all of us out for brats like these. Even if they started leveling up from birth, these brats couldn't possibly have undergone their 3rd profession change at their age. We could have just gotten the God Slayer Legion to kill these 2nd profession brats and be done with it. Just as he finished speaking, another voice immediately came from elsewhere. Second brother, you can't underestimate them! In mid-air, a figure approached, leaving a trail of white energy waves. This new figure was an elderly woman, appearing to be in her 50s. Although her hair was white and her face wrinkled, her figure was like that of a young girl. She came riding an arrow, formed from condensed air. After reaching Lu Fan's location, the arrow dissipated in mid-air. The elderly woman did a flip in the air, landing steadily, and took the longbow from her back. Holding it, she smiled at the drunkard. Boss Jin said that though this person's level isn't high, but he is strong, and he has some unusual pet dragons. Moreover, I heard he even has a skill that allows him to enslave an old friend of ours, a demon general. Since Boss Jin has asked all of us to come together to kill him, he must have his reasons. We can't afford to be careless. Lu Fan looked at the elderly woman and recognized the skill she had just used was Wind Arrow Mastery. This was a skill that could only be mastered by an archer who changed to ranger for their second profession and then became a great wind walker after their fourth profession change. In other words, this person in front of them was actually a fourth profession change player! The elderly woman was not the last one to come, though. The ground began to violently shake as if an earthquake was occurring. Everyone could feel that this trembling was not random, but rather due to the footsteps of a massive being charging toward them. The ground began to crack, and looking toward the direction of the cracks, Lu Fan's group saw a person bathed in surging bloody aura, covering dozens of meters with each step as he charged toward them. At the same time, he carried an enormous battle axe on his shoulder. The axe was clearly incredibly heavy, its blade covered in bloodstains from countless battles. Finally, he leaped high and landed firmly on the ground, steadily planting his shoulder, carried battle axe into the earth with a loud thud. The ground shook from his series of actions. Han Ki, being a non-combat specialized profession player, nearly lost her balance. Fortunately, Tao Xiaoman's helping hand stopped her from falling. The third person to appear retracted his bloody aura, completely ignoring Lu Fan's group, and grinned at the elderly woman. Sister Ren Ying, I think you're being too cautious. What about a demon general? Didn't I split him in half with one axe strike back then? As for dragons, hey! I've long heard that the dragon race in our world has power comparable to divinity, but I've never seen it before. Those are just hearsay. Those gaze soon fell on Xiao Kui, showing obvious disdain. After all, Xiao Qiu was just a support specialized dragon. She naturally appeared to be less threatening than combat pet dragons like Xiao Ye. This gave this muscular man a rather unimpressed first impression of the dragon race. Still, my luck is good today. To think I'm actually encountering a real-life pure-blood dragon. Not bad at all. Later my axe can have a taste of its dragon blood. I wonder if drinking dragon blood will make me stronger. 3 high-level players had appeared in succession, and all were in the fourth profession. This pressure had already caused great discomfort to Jian Ying and the others, their faces all pale. However, this was not the end. In the clear sky, a massive bolt of lightning suddenly struck down, hitting the ground not far from Lu Fan's group. After the lightning disappeared, a black, robed figure appeared where it had struck, holding a staff made of green wood with a gem at its tip that was flickering with lightning. It was clearly no ordinary item. This person was extremely silent, standing motionless after appearing, unlike the other 3. Seeing him arrive, the drunkard sneered. After so many years, Old Hai is still the same. We've been waiting here for the whole day, and he still hasn't said a single word. Sometimes I really wonder if he's mute. The elderly woman smiled. Hey, Old Hai has always been a man of few words. You know this. Speaking of which, isn't that exactly what Boss Jin likes? Strong, quiet, just does whatever task he asks of him without asking why. The muscular man shook his head, disagreeing. Old Hai is just too boring. Being around him is always so suffocating. The group began chatting casually, none of them truly taking Lu Fan's group seriously. Jian Ying, with her broad knowledge, quickly recognized their identities from their characteristics. These 4 people, they are 4 of Extremist country's 5 national guardians. What are they doing here? Huff, 5 national guardians, the ones who subdued the 9 hell demons. Lu Fan asked. Jian Ying nodded, watching them. Yeah. The first one that came is nicknamed Extremistis country's sword saint. His profession is the hidden profession, wandering sword saint. He specializes in physical attacks. The second one, the elderly woman, and the fourth one, the black-robed man, don't have hidden professions. They have regular 4th professions, Great Wind Walker and Lightning Mage God. But we can't compare them to ordinary 4th profession players. These 2 have developed their profession characteristics to the extreme, making them even stronger than some hidden profession players. As for the third one that came, the muscular man, he has a hidden profession called Hellblood Axe. His profession characteristics supposedly allows him to use various bloods to nurture his bounded weapon, that axe. This gives him an extremely high potential for further growth. After a pause, Jian Ying frowned and said, besides them, there's one more among the 5 national guardians. He is the strongest one Extremistis country's ruler, Jin Xy. He has a hidden profession called Abyss Parasite Master. If he's here too, then all 5 national guardians have truly assembled. He's been here all along. Lu Fan coldly smiled, looking toward an empty space. Lu Fan had already sensed the presence of the 5 national guardians after realizing that something was wrong. Even though Jin Xy had hid pretty well, he still could not escape Lu Fan's black dragon perception. Sure enough, after Lu Fan mentioned Jin Xy was here, a transport array supported by tentacles suddenly appeared in the empty space before everyone, and Jin Xy walked out before it closed. Moreover, tentacles burst from the ground behind Lu Fan's group, firmly wrapping around the dungeon instance entrance, giving them no chance to escape. You've finally come out. I've been waiting for you for such a long time. Jin Xy spoke without much inflection. However, Lu Fan could hear the coldness in his words. His killing intent was clear and overt. Besides this, there was the oppressive pressure emanating from other 5 national guardians. This pressure made even powerful players like Jian Ying tremble uncontrollably, breaking into cold sweat. If even Jian Ying was like this, those weaker than her Qin Chu, Tao Xiaoman, and Han Ke were even worse off. Of course, there was one exception, Lu Fan. Lu Fan had been patiently watching the 5 national guardians emerge one by one. Acting like what they expected of him, they saw his group as fish on a chopping block. His goal was to catch all 5 of them in one net. He refused to allow a single one of them to escape. Lu Fan's anger towards these people had exceeded his first meeting with Jin Xy. After all, just next to him were the corpses of over 40 people. They have been cruelly killed by these savages. Even if he did not know them, they were still people who supported him and were sent to protect him. How could he possibly let this go? Lu Fan needed to make them pay blood for blood? So what if they were the 5 national guardians? They were just guards protecting this land from the weak 9 hell demons. Thinking of this, Lu Fan gave a cold smile and did something puzzling. He put away his flaming meteor sword. This action confused both sides. The axe-wielding burly man, who was the most arrogant upon seeing Lu Fan put away his weapon, was briefly stunned before bursting into laughter. What? Giving up all resistance already? Though I have to say that it could be expected. We are, after all, famous as the 5 national guardians. It is natural for youngsters like you to be scared upon seeing us, but not even having the courage to resist. That is truly disappointing. If I'd known we were dealing with such cowards, I definitely wouldn't have bothered traveling so far to this godforsaken place. What are you talking about? The old woman rebuked while stroking her bowstring. If you hadn't come, wouldn't the dragon blood go to waste? In my opinion, after your battle axe absorbs dragon blood, its attributes will surely undergo earth-shattering changes. The burly man heartily laughed, saying, You have a point. Maybe my power will even surpass Boss Jin's because of this. The drunkard took a swig of wine, equally spirited. Looks like today, we 5 National Guardians will gain another honor to our name. We will become the first dragon slayers in history. In future textbooks about us 5, there will be another glorious chapter. With that, all 3 of them laughed together. Their laughter irritated Lu Fan. "Shut up, all of you!" Lu Fan's single sentence silenced everyone present. The 5 National Guardians had not expected that at this point, Lu Fan would not beg for mercy, but instead remain so domineering. Dead men sure talk a lot. Lu Fan sneered, then completely ignored the others, focusing only on Jin Xy. "You dare kill my people, even teachers from my university. Fine then. I'll make you watch as I slaughter 10,000 of your people." Jin Xy made no movement, but his killing intent became several times stronger than before. For someone about to die, I really don't know where you get the courage to say such things from. Jin Xy gave a cold laugh, then extended his hand in a gesture for everyone to attack. The 5 National Guardians understood and immediately moved to attack. "Slaughter 10,000 of our people. What a joke! Let me split you apart with my axe first." The burly man moved the fastest, stomping the ground forcefully and shooting forward like a cannonball. At the same time, streams of blood ki erupted from his pores, making him appear like a blood demon from hell. The pressure from him suddenly increased 100-fold. It seemed like his profession characteristics had some similarities with Andre, leaning towards the war god branch of warriors. He had both powerful enhancement-type buffs and charging skill, ones with unstoppable momentum. Such a powerful profession, combined with him being a 4th profession player, made this burly man unimaginably domineering. Facing him, even Tao Xiaoman could not hold her weapon steady. However, though his approach was fierce, Lu Fan never even glanced at him. Xiao Ku, Divine Tree of Life Form. At Lu Fan's command, Xiao Kui immediately took root in the ground, her body transforming, gradually expanding her frame to form a crystal-clear jade tree. Following this, waves of life pulse rippled out from Xiao Ku's body, washing over Jian Ying and the others. It made them feel extremely comfortable. They soon realized they had been covered in Xiao Kui's buffs, and stacked twice. Jian Ying had seen Xiao Ku's divine tree of life form before, so she was fine. But for Tao Xiaoman, Chun Q, and Han Kei, this was their first time being washed over by her life pulse in this form, so they were naturally all amazed. As for the burly man's oppressive pressure, it no longer felt as terrifying. Seeing Xiao Ku transform into a tree, the burly man was surprised, but he became even more interested in killing this dragon. "Blood prison axe!" The burly man roared as he leaped, raising his giant battle axe high. Instantly, the blood ki erupting from his body became even more intense, even producing a huge howling sound like a demon's roar. The blood ki concentrated on his giant axe as he brought it down. The blood chew moving across the axe head formed into a ferocious demon head with fanged jaws biting toward Lu Fan's group. It was an extraordinary strike. Though they claimed to look down on Lu Fan as just a 2nd profession player, even as 4th profession players, once the 5 National Guardians moved, they did not hold back. They were not going to give Lu Fan a chance to escape, not even if the great goddess of fortune wished to save him. However, at this moment, a dazzling golden light suddenly bloomed from Xiao Ku's body. A not too large protective barrier suddenly rose, protecting Lu Fan and the others inside. The burly man saw this but paid it no heed. A defensive skill. What a joke. Unless it is holy light protection or some other invulnerability skill, no defensive skill will be able to protect you from me. His axe still fell with unstoppable momentum, violently striking Xiao Ku's eternal guardian. But in the next second, something happened that shocked the 5 National Guardians. When the burly man's axe struck the eternal guardian, it merely caused ripples to spread. Far from being shattered, there was not even a crack. Instead, the attack power of his skill was reflected back, sending him flying. The burly man flew back hundreds of meters before finally stopping, his giant axe trembling. The rebounding force had clearly affected him badly. How is this possible? The burly man stared, wide-eyed. He was barely able to believe what just happened. After all, how could a second profession player block his full power strike? How could they have such an overpowered skill? Not just the burly man, but the other 5 National Guardians were also stunned. However, this small incident did not cause them to panic. After all, even if Lu Fan's group had such a powerful defensive skill, they were just turtles with hard shells. The burly man was furious with embarrassment. Seeing the others react with mocking looks, he irritably chided. "Don't just stand there and watch! Attack together!" Eat! The drunkard gave a cold laugh and extended his hand. The sword on his back seemed to have a mind of its own as it flew into his hand. This sword was extraordinary. Its blade gleamed with white light. It was even a rare light sword. Light swords not only had low drop rates but also required special hidden professions to use, so few had seen them. It was clear the wandering sword saint profession utilizes light swords. The drunkard stood up from his mechanical bird. With the glow from the sword in his hand getting more intense, he slashed repeatedly with his light sword, each strike sending purple sword light flying through the air toward Lu Fan's group. The old woman did not stay idle either, drawing her bow and shooting arrows wrapped in wind elemental, which each carried considerable power. At the same time, the silent black-robed man also acted. He waved his staff to gather dark clouds above Lu Fan's group, sending down bolt after bolt of lightning. The 3 attacked together, their powerful skills continuously striking Eternal Guardian. Inside Eternal Guardian, Jian Ying and the others watched on nervously, afraid the outside attacks might shatter the protective barrier. Only Lu Fan remained calm. He had complete confidence in Xiao Ku's skill, knowing that even though the other party was powerful 4th profession players, they absolutely would not be able to break through this defense skill further enhanced by Xiao Ku's buffs. Jian Ying, take care of Auntie and the others, Lu Fan said without looking back as he walked toward the outside, ignoring the chaotic bombardment. Hearing this, Jian Ying frowned. "Lu Fan, what are you going to do?" "I'm going to personally kill them." As Lu Fan spoke, golden light began appearing around him. This golden light was not radiating from the surface of his skin, but rather seeping out from within, beneath his skin. It was as though Lu Fan's blood had turned completely golden, possessing some special power. At the same time, Lu Fan's body began expanding, scales growing from his skin, his form transforming toward that of a giant dragon. This was the Golden Dragon King bloodline release! For Jin Xy and his group, Lu Fan felt that personally tearing them apart would be more satisfying. However, Lu Fan knew that they were Extremist country's top players. In other words, they were among the strongest, even amongst 4th profession players. Even with Golden Dragon King bloodline release, Lu Fan could not face all 5 of them head-on. So, calling for help was necessary. A summoning array lit up beside Lu Fan, and one of the fallen corpse Holy Dragon Kings emerged, opening his puppet sub, space outside of Eternal Guardian. Following this, monster after monster walked out. Not many in number, just 9. But these 9 were old friends of the 5 National Guardians. Naturally, they were the 9 Hell Demons! The appearance of the 9 Hell Demons greatly shocked the 5 National Guardians. The 3 who had been attacking the Eternal Guardian all stopped. They now faced the 9 Hell Demons with great wariness. What's going on? The drunkard instantly sobered up, gripping his light sword. He questioned, "How can this brat summon the 9 Hell Demons?" They had fought the 9 Hell Demons before and knew of their terrifying power. Though they had indeed killed the 9 Hell Demons back then, that was only because the Hell Demons were scattered, and they could hunt them down one by one. That was how they had finally subdued the 9 Hell Demons. But now, all the 9 Hell Demons were here together. So, that advantage was completely lost. The pressure on the 5 National Guardians was immense. Even Jin Xy was shocked. He knew Lu Fan had enslaved a demon general, and had guessed Lu Fan might have enslaved the diabolical hell demon. But he never imagined Lu Fan had all 9 hell demons! Even he felt tremendous pressure from the 9 hell demons that had just appeared, let alone his other 4 teammates. This sudden development stripped away the 5 National Guardians' earlier composure. However, the burly man was the first to react, coldly snorting. "All show and no substance! I don't believe a second profession player can really enslave the 9 hell demons! They must be imitations! Watch me split them all in half with one axe strike." With that, he raised his axe and charged forward. His movement drew the attention of the diabolical hell demon. The diabolical hell demon's form dimmed as it activated its ghost walk skill. Then, it teleported in front of the burly man, bringing its fingers made of blades down from above. The burly man's pupils contracted as he raised his giant axe to clash head on with the diabolical hell demon. Boom! It was a thunderous crash. The diabolical hell demon did not move a centimeter, while the burly man was forced back several steps. The burly man was shocked, exclaiming, "Something's wrong! How can these 9 hell demons be as powerful as the originals? How is this possible?" The others were also greatly alarmed. Sensing something was amiss. They could handle 1 or 2 9 hell demons, but how could they fight all 9 at once? Jin Xy's voice grew heavy as he slowly said, "No wonder you could show such power in the National Trial's secret realm. You truly have some ability. Even so, everyone, we need not fear him. Even if he summons all 9 hell demons, we need not be afraid. We've killed them before, and now that they've appeared again, we just need to kill them again." While the 9 hell demons are fearsome, many years have passed. Are we not much stronger than before? Even if the 9 hell demons join forces, what is there to fear? Jin Xy's words gave the 5 National Guardians some of their confidence back. After all, Jin Xy was just stating facts. These were monsters they had killed before. What could 9 of them combined do? They themselves had truly grown stronger over the years. If these enemies got resurrected, they would just need to kill them again! However, was it really that simple? As an emerald green light shone from within the Eternal Guardian, it illuminated the 9 hell demons. Moments later, beside each 9 hell demon appeared 2 mirror image projections identical to the original, so lifelike that real and fake could not be distinguished. The 9 hell demons had instantly become 27 hell demons! This sight made the 5 National Guardians' eyes nearly pop out of their heads. The 9 hell demons were already like a nightmare to them. Now, it was far worse. The 9 hell demons had become 27 hell demons. How were they going to fight against this? Are they clones? Jin Xy remained calm as he tore off his cloak, his body beneath expanding into a monster over 10 meters tall. Jin Xy now resembled a humanoid octopus, with a giant eyeball on his enormous head, while his lower body consisted of countless tentacles of varying thickness supporting his frame. His body was covered in sticky mucus, though its special properties remained unknown. From Jin Xy's appearance, it was clear he did not have a mage-type profession, but rather a transformation type like druid. The druid profession was rare in Dragon Country, but in Western countries, it was as common as any other profession. The profession characteristic was the ability to transform, enhancing one's attributes and giving the player power exceeding that of monsters at the same level. Jin Xy's attributes had surged dramatically, and his countless tentacles provided diverse methods of attack. Additionally, after losing his human form, his remaining eye gleamed strangely as it scanned the 27 hell demons present. This seemed like a skill similar to appraisal, allowing him to easily determine their original attributes. As expected, they're all clones. Their attributes are only a third that of the original. Though they look intimidating, their power is far inferior to the original, Jin Xy loudly announced, allowing the other 5 National Guardians to relax a little. As long as each hell demon did not possess the original's full power, the situation was still manageable. Though reduced by 2/3, their attributes were still formidable. Still, for players like them, dealing with hell demons at 1/3 of their strength was not too problematic. Did you think this was it? Lu Fan had more surprises in store for them. The Fallen Corpse Holy Dragon King's aura-type skill, Holy Light Radiance, now shone upon all hell demons, while Xiao Q's life pulse continuously flowed, providing them with buffs. Each hell demon soon gained doubly stacked Spring of Life, along with Jade Shield and Jade Blessing. Under Jin Xy's watch, all hell demons' attributes rose to terrifying levels, matching that of the original. More terrifying was that these were just the clone's attributes. The original hell demons, after receiving a series of attribute enhancement, had attributes far exceeding their peak, 2 to 3 times stronger than when they wreaked havoc in Extremistis country. With all of Xiao Ku's skills enhancing them, just 2 of these hell demons were enough to completely overwhelm the 5 national guardians. Yet, here, there were 9 hell demons of equal strength, plus 18 clones matching the original. Worse, behind them Xiao Q was continuously buffing all the hell demons! The 5 national guardians knew that to have any chance of victory in this battle, they needed to eliminate the support specialized pet dragon first. However, their opponent had transformed into a giant jade tree, maintaining an almost unbreakable shield while recklessly casting skills. This was something they could not do anything about. It was truly a death trap. Never mind the others, even Jin Xy in his battle. Ready form felt his scalp tingling. He was considering whether to create a transport array. He wanted to immediately leave. The 9 hell demons, originally killed by the 5 national guardians, still harbored deep resentment despite becoming fallen corpse puppets. Now that Lu Fan had buffed them and given them the order to attack, how could the hell demons and their clones remain still? Instantly, the 27 hell demons charged at the 5 national guardians. Basically, each of the 5 national guardians had to face 5 or 6 hell demons encircling them. Back then, it took all 5 of them to defeat just 1 hell demon. But now, the tables have turned. They had at least 5 hell demons against each of them. This made the 5 national guardians suffer greatly. Even though their strength had improved significantly since then, they still could not possibly be a match against 5 level 85 epic grade bosses at once. Moreover, if one of them was an original, that was even more terrifying. A single strike from the original was something none of the 5 national guardians could block. Originally, the 5 national guardians saw Lu Fan as a lamb for slaughter, but now the roles of hunter and prey had completely reversed. Too busy trying to survive, the 5 national guardians did not even notice that space around them began to distort around Xiao Kua. The surroundings gradually transformed into a sea of clouds with peaks piercing through. Roar! Accompanied by a clear, resonant dragon roar. A golden glowing dragon, as if cast from flowing gold, flew out from Eternal Guardian. It was Lu Fan, transformed into the Golden Dragon King Ultimate Shield. Lu Fan had fully activated his transformation skill, becoming the Golden Dragon King. Naturally, the feeling was extraordinary. He could feel power coursing through his body as his skin felt like the world's hardest metal. It gave him the confidence to withstand any attack. At just level 2 Golden Dragon King Bloodline release, it provided Lu Fan with 4k fuss in each of his strength, agility, and mana attributes, and 16k sus in his endurance attribute. At the same time, Lu Fan did not hesitate to activate the belt's additional skill, Golden Dragon King's Shield, increasing his 3 attributes by 40% and his endurance attribute by 100%. The Dragon Hunter's Will equipment set skills and attributes alone gave Lu Fan 32k sus endurance. The current Lu Fan was completely impenetrable, absolutely unbreakable. What if these incredible attributes were combined with Xiao Q's skill enhancements? Xiao Q's skill effects on Lu Fan had double the effectiveness. Their effects were far more terrifying than when applied on the hell demons. Just in terms of his endurance attribute, with all skills stacked together, Lu Fan broke 150k. That's not 15k, but 150k! Never mind the 5 national guardians, Even if one combined all 5 of their attributes together, 115K in endurance was an unreachable number for them. Unless they used a divine skill, they could not possibly break through Lu Fan's defense. Moreover, Lu Fan was being refreshed with over 40 jade shields every second. Even for divine skills, could it break through all of his jade shield? Even if it could, he still had his golden form. With that activated, Lu Fan was basically invincible. Well, for 3 minutes, but he would still be invincible nevertheless. Never mind the 5 National Guardians. Even if there were 55 National Guardians, Lu Fan would dare to go and cut off their hands.